All right. So, did you have any other things to share or things to ask before we continue with the 5 powers? How are y'all going? From what you've been saying, it sounds like everyone is engaging with the material well and really bringing it into your daily life and asking the big questions that will actually make it integrate. I mean, it sounds like you're all really approaching it the right way. So far, so good, sounds like. It will take a while for it to become second nature or to become a habit, but yeah.
I have a question. Since I've an experience of a daily meditation on the Kundalini Yoga, that sometimes I do, maybe I did a meditation for an entire year, but then I quit it. And then I felt many guilt feelings, and this is why I don't take the commitment of doing a daily practice on the Dharma, which these days are more efficient to me than the Kundalini Yoga. So can you help me with that? Because I'm afraid of myself from breaking up the commitment.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Look, and until you have a highest yoga tantra commitment in Tibetan Buddhism, you don't have a commitment to do a daily practice. It's just a good idea, right? So if you approach it with a softness and curiosity and this helps me have a good day, and this helps me be kind to others, and this helps me lead a meaningful life, and it moves me towards my potential, then you're happy to do it, but you're not pressuring yourself. You know, when you take highest yoga tantra, you're deciding I'm doing this practice every single day for the rest of my life, definitely, right? And you know, there might be an additional practice commitment and a mantra commitment and the commitment to do 6-session guru yoga, and you know, all of the things that go together with highest yoga tantra, you know, it really means that you're excited to do it, right? You're happy to take on a daily commitment. So if you're not happy to take on a daily commitment, don't take one on, right? You know, if it's not making you like excited and, oh, excellent, I have this framework that I'm gonna develop within, yes, and by promising, it's gonna get me to do it even on days that I don't feel like it, even on days that I'm tired. I'm so glad to have a commitment because it helps me get momentum and continuity. Yay, right? If you're not at that point, don't take that on, right? Work yourself up to it. It's not a deficiency in you. It's just you haven't put enough habituation into your current practice for the next step to feel like an exciting, happy new idea, right? You want these things to unfold organically, right? So you need effort. You need effort and you need will and you need discipline, but that is not the same thing as tightness and punishing and should and a good girl does. They're totally different, right? Discipline is saying, some days I'm going to feel like it and some days I'm not, but my, you know, higher self or my Buddha nature or in the depths of my being, progress and transformation are important to me, right? So I'm gonna try something every day. I'm gonna try. But some days, all I can try is setting my motivation while I'm all cozy in bed, not even sitting up yet. Yeah? With all the blankies going, all right, bodhicitta. yeah, oh, too ambitious, compassion, all right. No, too ambitious, mindfulness. All right, mindfulness. Yeah, and then you get up. And that's all you can cope with that day. It's still more powerful to do something every single day than to say, all right, today I'm doing 2 hours and then nothing for a week. It's much more powerful to do something every single day, even if it's tiny, even if it is just that like embarrassing, like snuggled up in bed, all right, compassion, yeah, and we're up. You know, that every single day does actually bring meaning and purpose and continuity into your life. It's a bit like exercise, right? You know, you could go on a giant hike for 2 hours, and yes, you've exercised, but then the next day you're all tired out and don't want to. You know, if you just went for a little walk every day, you would maintain health. And we all kind of know that, right? It's just getting ourselves into the habit, right? And it's the getting into the habit that's the hard part. Once you get into the habit of something every day, what that something is can just very gently expand, just organically over time, right? You don't have to force it. You know, now I have this whole big long practice, well, all sorts of bits and pieces. If I had started with it at that form, I would have blown all my fuses and never done it again. You know, I started with just this little tiny baby practice, do, 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 and then a few months later, do, 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 you know, then a few years later, do, 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 you know, just very gently. The hardest part was just doing something every day. And if even the idea of doing something, just waking up and thinking of compassion, is too overwhelming, you can give yourself permission not to. It's your life. You know, like, what is it going to take for you to feel happy about practice? You know, that you live your whole life, when you get to your deathbed, are you going to regret having not watched more television? Yeah? Right? You're going to think, I really wish I'd see the end of that series. You know? Right? Like, that's not the sort of regrets you're going to have at your deathbed, right? You're going to think, oh, I wish I gave a little bit of effort to my spiritual practice. I wish I'd been a little kinder to people. I wish I'd been more effective in this world. That's the kind of regrets most people have, right? Not, gee, I wish I had stared aimlessly out the window and fiddled through my phone more, right? Those are not the regrets you'll have. Yeah.
You know, I want to share something. It's really tiny. It's about me, but maybe, you know, it can help others. Every morning when I get up, you talked about snuggling in bed and stuff. The first thing I do to get me motivated, the first thing, I'm just getting up, okay, and I go like this and I say, thank you. And then, when I'm filled with that gratitude, it changes my view. I could have a crappy night or not slept at all, worries, you know, I hate the day ahead. But just by saying that, I've realized it opens something and it changes the way I get up. So it's not bodhicitta, you know, or just
start at the
word,
beginning.
You know, just like thank you, and it changes things.
Yeah, that's
so
beautiful.
It starts me going, you know.
Absolutely.
And it gets me more motivated.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's just tiny, right?
Yeah.
And it's personal, right? So what's the word? What's the phrase that's going to work for you? That's for you to figure out, right? What's the first thought in the morning that is something more than, oh, you know, right? Like, or maybe the second thought after, no, right? But you know, even if you have to fabricate it at first, it synchronizes you back into what you think is important in your life, you know, and you won't regret having brought more meaning to your life, will you? Right? Oh, I wish I'd had a more meaningless life. You're not going to die thinking that. I wish I'd given less effort to important things, right? No one's going to think that, right? So our whole life will just pass us by if we don't take those brief moments to introduce and reintroduce and reintroduce meaning and purpose and connection at whatever level feels right to you. You know, that life will just rush by. You feel it already, don't you? It's just rushing by. Every year is faster. And it's not going to slow down. You know, right? And you know, death's not going to wait for you to get your practice organized.
It's not that it's faster, but it's very interesting with time, because when you have lots of something, you feel like it's endless.
Yeah.
And then when you have less, because time is time, it's the same. The year is the same amount of. But then if you have less of something, then you feel that it's
When you're 55.
Look, you know, it depends on the person, right? It depends on the person. And we can be passive about our life, or we can be active about our life, right? And if you're passive about your life, you can still lead a nice, meaningful life, but it's probably not going to have the same power and richness as if you'd orchestrated something and decided something, you know? Even if you don't believe in any spiritual path in particular, except that ethics are good, right? Kindness helps, even that is so much more significant than a passive life, right? We aren't animals. We should take advantage of that, right? Because animals without active intention often wind up doing more good than a passive human, right? You know, and they're certainly not causing as much trouble, you know? So if we want to use the fact that we have a human intelligence, bringing some of these questions into your mind on purpose is really so important. But it can be totally personal and up to you. So this whole idea of guilt and shame and I should, that is, I don't know.
Jewish.
It's very Jewish. It's very Christian. It's very, you know, it's
Jewish and Christian also.
Western.
it's Western. Yeah, it is. It's Western. And even if you didn't grow up in a religious household, you know, all sorts of different things, different kinds of psychology, different kinds of, I don't know, professional ambition, all sorts of voices come into your head about what a good person should be, right? And that voice is not necessarily useful, and not even necessarily the voice of those religions. Those are the voices of people who have interpreted those religions, right? So, you know, it's not the religion's fault that we have so much guilt and shame. It's human beings' flawed interpretation, you know? And so managing our own past, you know, hearing the old voices in our head with that same space and objectivity that we hear irritation and attachment and neediness, enough space to check, true or not true. Just because I think it doesn't make it real. You know, the space to check, that's all we want, is the space to check. So you wake up and you think, I don't want to set my motivation. I'm not gonna. Yönten, you're not the boss of me. I won't. Yeah, and you have like a willful child rise up in you and say, you're not the boss of me, Yönten. I'm not going to set my motivation. Yeah, you'll feel sort of like a grumpy toddler or a willful teenager rise up. All right, don't. Right? I don't care, right? Like, you know, what does the Buddha want? The Buddha wants you to be happy. The Buddha wants you to stop hurting yourself and to stop hurting other people. That's what he wants. So anything that is moving in that direction is making him happy. But guess what? He was happy anyway. He's a Buddha, right? You don't have to please him. He's not your father, right? Like we really have to use our logic about this whole process of who is watching, right? Who is watching your spiritual path? The only ones who actually see it are you and people that are so compassionate that they accept you regardless, right? The holy beings see you with pure compassion, pure loving kindness, nothing but acceptance, and then there's you watching it, right? No one is saying, oh, now you're bad, you don't get any love, go to your room. Yeah, you didn't do your practice, no supper for you. You know, no one is saying that, right? So we have to just like, okay, I feel guilt. All right, who is giving me the guilt? I am giving me the guilt. Crap, all right, stop. You know, and I know it's not that simple, but if at least you have the space to know you don't have to think the same old pattern. Of course it will come up, right? We had a whole life before we met Buddhism. Of course we have a whole life of stuff that comes up to us. And some of it has served us well, but might be outdated now. You know, and so that's a nice way to approach it is maybe that was a useful framework. Maybe that was useful for a while, but is it still useful now? Is it outdated now? You know, just calling it outdated can help you be less punishing about it too. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. Yeah, let it go. Yeah, that was useful, now I let it go. Yeah, or it wasn't useful, now I let it go. Either way, right? So just very gently, and the idea of practice should make us happy. Some days getting to the practice is like, you know, like any other thing you want to do that's useful. It takes you a while to get energized, but the idea of it should make you happy. Even if you don't do it perfectly, even if you don't wind up doing it all the time. Just the concept, keeping the concept that this is what I want to do. Sometimes you have to have the idea, I want a daily practice, for a long time before you actually have one. And to know that there is a practice in that. The practice of wanting one builds mental energy. It's not useless, right? Thoughts have power. So even the thought of, all right, I'm not up for it yet today, but I do want to do this. Yes, I do, right? Eventually, sometimes that builds the momentum to wind up getting there. You know, and you think, all right, today all I'm going to do is grab a cushion from my couch and decide that's my meditation cushion and move it somewhere. I'm not even going to sit on it. I'm just picking one from the couch. Here's the one.
It's a new lineage.
Yeah, right? But I mean, you have to sort of like, make it fun, make it something that's just a gently evolving process. And who has the best spiritual practice is the person that's bringing freshness and energy to wherever they are today. Yeah, and so the person who's been meditating for 40 years might not have a good practice just because they sit for 3 hours. The person who is sitting for the very first time and can only do 5 minutes might have the best practice that day because they've given it the most energy and intention, right? So we can't tell by looking. Yeah, yeah.
Me and Gail was just discussing before that in most religions, when you want to practice or to pray, you have a place you can go to.
Yeah.
And in Western Buddhist sort of new thing, we're like a new stream of religion actually. Most of your practice you do alone in your house, and it can be like very discouraging and make you feel like you're alone, you're the only Buddhist around, and there's no Gompa, you should feel like what do you do? So
We're having a meditation party at your house. We're all coming over.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, it's not only that, it's just like,
Yeah.
you meditate. I mean, people kind of, they don't get it, and you don't want to do it alone.
Yeah, especially in the
Every day.
beginning. Yeah, look, and if someday soon, we will have a Dharma center here that we can do the traditional practices, like once a week or something all come together, which then gives you the energy for your daily practice by yourself. And you're not wrong, right? Doing practice together really helps. And it's hugely more energy to do practice together. And if your meditation goes better in a group than it does at home, that is not a weird or unique experience. That's very normal, right? All of these minds trying to focus, we have an impact on each other. So, we just have to be a little bit patient and a little bit organized, right? And a little bit proactive. What is the spiritual community that you want? And if there's a practice that you do and you love, but sometimes you're losing energy for, you can invite people over and all do it together. Even if it's watching YouTube together, like have a meditation party at your house. It's okay, right? Yeah. You invite Noah, everyone bring tea, it'll be great, right? Sometimes the nuns community, if it's like the off season, and there's nobody around, it's like we'll send a text message to everyone, puja at my house at 7, everyone come over, like make it happen, right? But when you have your own Dharma center, right? Right, like when you have your own Dharma center, there are these regular practices, right? In a Tibetan Buddhist center, twice a month you do Guru Puja, once a month you do Tara Puja, once a month you do Medicine Buddha Puja. And these are beautiful practices that give you community connection and positive energy. And then you go home and you want to practice because you're all charged up. Yeah?
We do Medicine Buddha in our house once a month. So if
Go to
anybody's
Nisim's
interested,
house.
they can approach me. I'll send them a WhatsApp.
Medicine Buddha party. No, it's a good cook. I'm just saying. Look, but that's the thing is, while we're at this level, this is the hardest part, right? The size we are now, this is hard, and it gets easier. But this part, we're building strength and we're building momentum, and just by meeting here together in this room is creating the cause for a real center, right? We're creating the cause just by coming together again and again. And if for a long time your only practice is when you come together in a community, still that is something that's huge, right? And you're building strength, And someday you might just come to your house and say, I want to meditate. I think I know how now. Plunk. Yeah, don't make it a big deal. Just do it. Do it. It'll be clumsy. It'll be ungraceful. It'll be disorganized. Just start. Clean it up later. Yeah.
It's like every day, I don't know, like something else, and maybe this will help me now, maybe this will help me now. Well, what do I do today? And then I don't end up not doing anything, and it's like three times a week, once time a week. It's like so like.
And, this is also the challenge of being educated enough, right? You've been around enough to have some options. And now you become overwhelmed with choice,
Yeah.
right? There's so many things you could do. To actually pick one becomes a little overwhelming, and that is totally normal too, right? So don't overthink it. Just pick something. Just pick it. Impermanence. Here we go. Yeah, like just do it, really. Like don't overthink it. Just try something and see what happens with an open mind. And as time goes by, you get more organized and more tidy. And it's by actually trying that you get the best questions to bring back to the teacher or to the nurse, right? To the doctor or the nurse. You get the best questions when you've actually given it a try by yourself. Yeah, and you're like, okay, here's the piece I'm totally confused what to do here. Okay, I get how to set my motivation, all right, I get how to do breathing meditation, but now I really want to focus on compassion, and I'm actually not totally sure how to meditate on it. I've had these classes, I get what it's about, but how do I actually do this piece? I don't know, but I get how to dedicate. All right, so I'm going to sit down and figure out a compassion meditation, either through a book or through a YouTube video or through one of the visiting teachers, through an email exchange. All right, that's my project. If you never start, then you just have this like overwhelmed sea of choices, right? And this overwhelm of so much information. So just pick something. Don't overthink it. Yeah, and if you do the same thing every single day is great because you build depth with it. So I think it's nice to have a simple, tiny thing that you do every single day, then maybe slowly you build other things into, right? Just very gently. So it might be that every day you just do the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, right? And some days you sit with it for a long time and connect with the meaning, and some days you just say it to keep the continuity of the energy, right? But you do it every single day, and then one day you'll think, I think I've got space for a bit more today. I'm going to do refuge and bodhicitta, and then some single-pointed meditation on the breath. Yeah, right? Just gently. So you don't have to make it too ambitious, right? It's the starting and the creating the habit that's the hard part. Really it is. That's the hard part. It's just doing something. Yeah. And, build your community, be organized about it. Yeah. You're on the ground floor. I mean, Buddhism has been in Israel a long time, but it hasn't been organized in Israel, right? And there's been some beautiful, consistent communities that have been doing their best, but it's not like you've had a few Tibetan lamas here on the ground giving you stuff from the very beginning in a nice, tidy, sequential way, right? So you're the pioneers. You're the pioneers, and it's brave that you even think it's a good idea, right? It's nice that you even asked me over. Thanks. I like it, right? But I mean, it's very brave of you to say, do you know what? We're going to try something that is not what we grew up with. That is a brave stance, right? Even if you never become a Buddhist, even if you're just curious about something else besides how you were brought up, that's brave, right? It's really brave. So, give yourself some kindness about it. Yeah, exactly, right? Very gently. But yeah, have a puja at your house. Do a party. Dharma party. Yeah, yeah.
In the Dharma Friends, once when we started, we didn't with one or two teachers coming here. We didn't have any Dharma almost. So we were creating some groups, regional groups. Some in Tel Aviv, some in Kiryat Ono, some in Haifa. And then we were learning together the Dharma. It was very, very helpful to just stick together and talk about the Dharma together once a week, not only once.
There are still, no?
Yeah.
There,
Yes, still.
But we can do it in FPMT also. If we, some people from Tel Aviv can meet, they can meet around. You don't,
Look, it's a little bit dangerous to learn the Dharma from people that are not educated. And I've seen a lot of trouble in this country of people who have learned Dharma for many years from people who are not qualified, and they have a lot of mistaken understandings. But practicing together is a great idea, right? So things that you all have learned how to do, like a clarity of mind meditation, like a meditation on equanimity, so, like a medicine Buddha puja, things that everyone gets the idea, practicing together is a great idea. Studying together is a little dangerous unless you have someone that occasionally checks that it's not gone weird, right? So someone who at least occasionally comes and let's just tidy it up and make sure it hasn't gone off the deep end or into something weird, something weird, for lack of a better word. Because, right, there's some weird understandings out there. And that's normal, right? It's not the end of the world, but just be a little cautious that it seems to be the case that a lot of people that teach Dharma in Israel have had a lot of public talks from a lot of different traditions, which means they miss the overview and the continuity and where things are placed. They might have a lot of raw information, yeah, a lot of information, but they don't necessarily know where it goes or when to apply it. So just be a little bit careful if you go to one of these groups and ask them, who is your teacher, what is your training? Yeah, in a gentle, friendly way, not who is a teacher, what is your training, right? But you know, like, right, it shouldn't be a random bits and pieces, you know, floating around India for 2 years from random lamas kind of an education, right? It should have been something systematized.
I wasn't thinking about really teaching. I thought about people meeting together and just talking about Dhamma, because we seldomly find each other speaking about Dhamma with people in around our lives.
Yeah.
But if people meet together and speak about it for precious human river, so it's really more...
Yeah, it is good, but even a discussion group,
awakening thing.
you will find a place of confusion and then who will tidy you up, right? The person with the strongest voice will be the one that dictates what is understood, right? It might not be the person that's correct, it'll be the person with the strongest voice and the most kind of convincing arguments. So I agree with you that a discussion group is excellent and that you should, but it should somehow have some kind of facilitator with an obvious systematized education that is quantifiable and check accountability, right? You can't check realizations, right? You can't know who has a realization or not, but you can check education. Yeah, they should have a solid education. Yeah. And I mean, right, it's in your own best interest, isn't it? It's in your own best interest to be around people who have a solid education. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, is this annoying you? Are you like, no? What's happening here, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to say
reasonable.
something about Vajrasattva.
Yes, Vajrasattva.
Appropriate?
Please, Vajrasattva. Sababa.
Well, it says somewhere in the practice, at the end recite, colon. Due to not knowing and foolishness, I have transgressed and degenerated my pledges. It's not about them, it's about me. Guru Protector, please be my refuge. In you, principal holder of the Vajra, personification of great compassion, Lord of transmigrating beings, I take refuge. So for me, in my daily practice, this first sentence, my not knowing and foolishness,
Yeah.
is something that I initially pushed away.
Yeah, yeah.
Not possible that I'm not, I know, and I'm not foolish.
No, certainly not, because you're a man.
Little by little, I see myself sitting upon a Mount Meru of garbage, which I have created. And it just waits there for every opportunity to just be thrown back at me. And it, through this experience, that I had this idea that if Geshe Sonam Rinchen was alive today,
Yeah.
and I would have told him how foolish I was,
Yep.
and to any one of these three guys over there, they would simply do what he had done. Hold my head like this, and just bang on my head
Excellent, right.
in compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that Miki asked me, well, how do you find the guru? Because we talked about the root of the path is the guru.
Yeah.
And still I didn't give her the recipe, the secret recipe. But I think that the more trust, the more profound trust I have in the guru, the more I can realize my foolishness.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And experience this
Absolutely.
bang, 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 bang when I truly practice.
Yep.
Okay, it's one thing being here and have a nice chat about bodhicitta and mindfulness or whatever. But when the practice gets deep, that's when I see the huge
Yeah.
mountain of garbage I'm sitting on. And if it wasn't for this, I have not really met this practice until I think, even not occasionally, until 2 years ago. So meeting the practice shows me that this garbage actually exists, and if I don't purify it, something will happen with this garbage. It will ripen in one way or another. So
Yep.
sitting on the cushion makes sense for me.
Sababa. But it also, there's a really beautiful point in there, which is the idea of the guru and the Buddha almost makes it safe for you to see the garbage, right? Like if you're looking at all of your mistakes and all of your messiness and all of your hypocrisy and all of your confusion without someone holding you and saying, and you have Buddha nature. And you can never mess up your Buddha nature, no matter how confused you get. And your mind is clear and knowing and can be transformed. If there's not the presence of that perfected mind holding you, then why would you look at all your crap, right? It would just bring you into the depths of despair, right? You'd better to disassociate, better to be entertained, better to be distracted. Don't look at that stuff. That's painful. But because the Buddha is there, or because the teachers are there, or because even just your inner wisdom is there, then you can look at all this stuff and you're held, right? You're held and not judged, right? Held compassionately. So you're safe enough to dig into all of it and be like, yeah, right, that is a mess. Heavens, whoo, I didn't even know that one, yikes. You know, but you're held. And finding a root guru is it's a complicated process in some ways, a simple process in some ways, but you know that old saying, right? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear,
Yes.
right? And in the meantime, we can use His Holiness. He's perfect. He's accessible in terms of how powerful His mind is, how pure His mind is, and how reliable His ethics are, right? Which is really the most important thing for us as ordinary beings trying to check out a guru, is that you can check out ethics. Has there been a guru that we know about that has been investigated more thoroughly than His Holiness, right? Like every second of every day is accounted for, you know, and not a whiff of dodginess for what, 50 years that he's been out in public? 60 years, right? Like amazing, amazing. And so, you know, you can put all your eggs in that basket and it's pretty safe. You know, and His Holiness does give refuge. He does give bodhisattva vows. He does give empowerments. He can be one of your root gurus. Yeah, and you think, oh, but I don't see him every day. I can't ask him questions. Who are you asking? Right? Are you asking a sweet old Tibetan man? Or are you asking the Dharmakaya essence of the enlightened mind? Right? If you're talking to the great beyond, you don't need the sweet Tibetan guy in front of you. He's just the form. For our ordinary minds to have something relatable, right? But that's not the whole of who He is, right? How could it be, right? Regular 80-somethings men do not function in the way that He does. He's not normal, right? He's really not normal. And follow Him around for a week, you will feel it, right? A day, yeah. So if you're looking for your guru and you have not found one, you can rely on him, yeah. If you want to, right? It's totally your choice. And lots of people investigate the whole path before they come back to the beginning of guru devotion, right? Guru devotion is at the beginning of the path, but for a lot of us, we try and practice the whole thing, not the whole thing including Tantra, but the whole thing in the Lam Rim. And once you kind of get an overview of the whole thing, then you decide, now I want a teacher. That's totally fine, right? And you have nurses everywhere, right? You have nurses. You know, we'll sort you out for now, right? But when it gets into the epic stuff, you do want a doctor. You want a real doctor that's completely qualified. But in the meantime, you can get good amounts of health by relying on a nurse, right? Right? And the profound health and the profound removal of sickness absolutely needs a doctor. But in the meantime, you're still getting good work done. And you're creating the cause to meet the guru, right? By the work you're doing now, you create the cause to meet the real teacher, right? So, you know, I was a pretty full-on hardcore Buddhist for quite a few years before I met my teacher, right? And when I met him, I didn't think he would be the one, right? And it was kind of when I stopped looking, right? Like marriage, I don't know. I stopped looking and then he appeared. It's you! Yay! Yeah.
What do you think about more spontaneous understanding, like Eckhart Tolle or those guys?
Like a what?
Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle, yeah.
What is it?
Eckhart Tolle? Spontaneous understandings. Tell me more about what you mean.
Okay.
You go everywhere, you see those people giving teachings in places, in YouTube, everywhere.
Yeah.
I've met a few, and some of them sounds good. But they're more, they didn't follow like a tradition, but still they stick. So what do you think about?
I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't think it's impossible that these are good teachers, but I think that it's harder to check. Yeah? And it's very easy for us to be swept up by charisma, right? Charisma and the power of an interesting idea. We are very vulnerable, right? We're very vulnerable to following and believing in people that speak well, people that are entertaining, people that speak to the human condition and are utilizing profound ideas from various traditions. The ideas themselves might be perfect, pure, amazing ideas from Dharma, from philosophy, from any number of religions, from science, and they've understood the concepts well enough to speak to them with some authority. You know, it's very easy for us to then start to rely on a person like that who might actually be totally dodgy, right? Completely unethical, right?
Superficial.
Right. Yes, superficial and or very well intended and very full of bodhicitta and amazing, amazing, amazing. This is also possible, right? It is possible, but if we're honest, right, people are a little bit dodgy generally, yes? Like we are, and we're trying, yes? Yeah, we're not totally consistent with our ethics, and we actually want to be ethical, right? So I think that, you know, going to a lecture to someone random is not going to hurt you, right? Ideas are interesting. Investigate ideas, go to lectures, go to seminars, go to conferences, go to stuff, enjoy yourself, explore new ideas. But what we're talking about with guru devotion is reliance. Right? Reliance. Sort of giving your heart, giving your mind into the care of someone, and that is a very dangerous relationship. So you have to check ethics, check education, check things that are checkable. Because if you think this is someone who's a spontaneous, self-arisen yogi, that might be the case, or it might be that they're just very charismatic. Yeah. Talking about ideas that they poached from someone else. Yeah, so we're a little bit vulnerable. We have to be a little careful. That's my opinion. You know, you do what you like. But there's a million things on YouTube, and I'm guessing that only a tiny percentage is actually authentic teachings from an authentic teacher. But probably a lot of it's well-intended, you know. They mean well, they want to help, you know. Probably there's lots of that stuff on there. But I would really only watch stuff on YouTube from people I'd actually met. Yeah.
Or close to His Holiness.
Yeah. But yeah, even that, you have to do your own checking. Because with a guru, you have to understand too that they might be a perfect guru in terms of qualifications, but that doesn't mean they're perfect for you, right? The karmic connection might not be right. They might not teach to your learning style, teach to your practice style. So just because they're perfect doesn't mean they're perfect for you. So you really want to listen to your own wisdom, right? So I guess exercise caution, right? I've seen some pretty awful things in the name of spirituality, and it breaks my heart because people come to a spiritual tradition with so much beautiful heart and so much vulnerability and fragility, and I hate to see that distorted by someone who's not ethical. Yeah.
I just want to say that in my spiritual journey, it's over 25 years. I've met so many now for many years I don't look anymore, but I was very much disappointed, and I always laugh at myself that for me, I don't pick up a tradition that is less than 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, no.
That's what I like about the Buddhism, and especially FPMT, that there's no guru that has been discovered that has reacted badly. Today, I've been in the Beatles about, and when they came back from the Maharishi, they were disappointed because they discovered that so there are so many stories about this that.
Yeah.
But there are people in the Buddhist tradition, in the Tibetan
Absolutely.
tradition that are
Totally, right? No.
practical, like
Totally.
biology.
Yeah, no, there's tons. No, so don't think that we're immune, right? We got dodgy people all over the place, right? You have to do your own checking for sure. Yeah.
For instance, I want not to offend anyone, but in our break, I go to about Lama Zopa. It's now in Russia, and there is a TV, but really I can't understand a word of what he's saying. So
Yeah.
I believe for me that he's a great teacher, but maybe his energy, but myself, I don't understand.
Yeah,
the
so
word
then, yeah, no
he
worries.
says, I can't.
That's
So
fine, right?
He's a great teacher, but he's not suitable.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you know, you really, this is a very personal thing, Buddhism, right? It's very personal, it's very direct, and you really do have to listen to your own wisdom a lot and educate your own wisdom a lot. And you do need teachers, but just make sure that you realize that there are levels of teachers, and that corresponds to levels of reliance. Right? So, you know, many of you are probably qualified to be a meditation facilitator at a beginner level. So then you sit on this level, yeah, on the floor. And then some of you are qualified and have done the same studies as me and passed the same exams as me and the same years of practice as me, and you can sit up here. And then you get some geshis, and then they can sit up here with a back. And then you get high lamas, and they sit up here, right? This is helpful for us to understand the level of education, the level of ethical development, and the level of reliance that is communally agreed upon. You know, but still we have to do our own checking. And so, you know, just being very careful. Use your own wisdom. You're smart, intelligent people. The Dharma should make that stronger, right? No, don't put aside your common sense. You know, you're just strengthening your common sense. Yeah. Okay, so the 5 powers are the pieces that we want in a practice, in a day, during our life, and at death. Okay, so when we're talking about establishing a daily practice, these 5 powers are repeated everywhere. So what we want to do is kind of get a sense of how does this apply on one cushion in one session? How does this apply in one day? How does this apply in my life? And what do I do with it at death? So we're going to do death in the last session, in the last day. The last session of today, I've asked Shuki to lead a Shakyamuni Buddha meditation and a Vajrasattva meditation while I meet with you one-on-one about your practice. So meditation facilitator, fine, right? Right? In a scripted way, right? In a scripted way based on a valid source, yes? If he's making up from scratch, then we can have a fight. Yes, but no, in a scripted way from a reliable source, no problem. You know, and so the daily practice application of the 5 powers is easiest if you look at the 7-limb prayer, which is built into a lot of your practices, like your Tara practice and your Chenrezig practice have the 7-limb prayer in them. But if, say, you're focusing on concentration, right? You're not in the mood for touching anything tantric yet, or you're really wanting to do Lam Rim things, okay, what do? Well, this is the classic prayer of the 7 limbs, which covers all your bases. So the 7 limbs are first to prostrate, okay? And this is incredibly confronting for Westerners because of how much pride we have, yeah? So first of all, like, know that you're not alone in going, no, I don't want to, okay? So what is a prostration? First of all, how do you understand this idea of prostration so far, and what either annoys you about it or inspires you about it? Prostrations, go. Yeah.
Nothing annoys me about it now.
Now.
I wouldn't prostrate before Andy, who who was here, explained to me for 20 minutes what everything means. And he said, you're right not to have done it before. Now that you understand, you can choose.
Yeah.
And I do it every morning,
Nice.
ever since. And I must say that prostrating, first of all, reduces your ego, which is perfect. It's so important. You know,
Yeah.
I do the long ones and I literally touch the ground and it feels so good, you know.
Because you have context, right? Because you have context.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then I'm reminded, you know, of wisdom, of compassion, of everything. To me, it's, you know, it sets my motivation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it inspires me, you know.
This is perfect.
It's an opener.
This is perfect. Who's annoyed? Anybody annoyed and feels brave to talk about their annoyance? Yes, excellent. Go.
No, I'm annoyed because I have my own religion. I mean, I'm Jewish, and Jewish people are not supposed to go down to prostrate.
Well, if you're Jewish, then you shouldn't prostrate, right? This is for Buddhists.
So I have that debate for a long time already.
Yeah, yeah. So for people that identify as Buddhist or people that decide, I like Buddhism and want to do Buddhist things, I'm not Buddhist, but I like it. Any of you folks want to speak from some of your annoyance or your concerns or your worries when you see people put their head in the ground and come back up again? What annoys you about that or grosses you out about that? Yeah.
It could appear from the outside as sadistic, not like masochistic.
Yeah.
But not in the levels that I do it. In the levels that I do it, I do 3 in the morning, 3 in the night, and it's really helping me because it's like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what she does in the morning.
Yep.
But you can see like in higher levels, when people really go to long retreats, they prostrate all day long. And in the context that we are living in, not only as Jewish, but
Yeah.
as Western, it's like you get lost. And you're in where am I? Where the Buddha? What's going on? Am I hurt myself? I'm supposed to stop hurting myself.
Yeah, no hurting. Don't hurt yourself. Don't do it. Yeah. But yeah, you do hear these, don't you? It's good to do 100,000 prostrations, right? It's on our bucket list, right? Do 100,000 prostrations. It's on our to-do list, right? We're working on it slowly, some of us. And you think, good heavens, why? Right? Yeah, or what on earth is that about? And so prostrations are operating on multiple levels, okay? So first of all, what are you prostrating to? That is the first question that I think is the most important piece. What are you actually prostrating to? Your own potential, right? You're prostrating to your own potential, right? Your potential for development, right? Your potential for development. You're showing respect to yourself, right? By connecting with the part of you that is not the afflictions, the part of you that is transformable, the part of you that is clear and knowing, the part of you that can develop. You're saying, that is the part of me I respect. That is the part of me I want to identify with. Yes? And that is a powerful concept. It's a powerful act of self-respect. And what you're prostrating to is a representation of the finished form of your potential. So you're prostrating to an image of the Buddha. It's not the image, it's the Buddha, right? You're prostrating to the Buddha because this is the completed form of your potential. You're not saying, oh, Buddha up there, me so low. I am crap and you are amazing. No. But it looks like that. It definitely looks like that. So it's important to talk about it, right? So what we're actually saying is, this is what I'm going to be and what I'm already moving towards. Thank goodness it exists. Yeah. And like I've said so many times, whenever you show respect to something, it makes you receptive to it. It makes you open to it. It makes you listen deeply to it. When you make something ordinary, you shut off all sorts of levels of communication to it because you already know better. Yeah, you're already the expert. If you're thinking, we're the same, why am I listening to you? Well, then you don't listen, do you? If you think, this embodies wisdom that I want to touch, it makes you listen deeply. Now, it does help you with your pride, right? To say, and I'm not there yet. Yes, this represents my potential that I have great confidence in and am moving towards and am happy about, but I am not there yet. I am full of negative emotions. I am full of disturbing emotions. And so thank goodness you're there to show me the way out of myself in this mess. Yes, so I'm putting my head right in the floor, right? Right in the floor. Yeah, and then you come back up, right? And you come back up. So, your hands are together like this, thumbs in, yes. With my body, speech, and mind, I prostrate to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Okay? When am I doing when I come in the beginning of class and I do 3 times? I think with my body, speech, and mind, I prostrate to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Yeah? And then as I come up, I imagine they all dissolve into me and I sit down here and may whatever wisdom of the Dharma flow through and be of benefit to others. Yeah? So when you're prostrating, there are many things happening simultaneously. It's an act of self-respect and an act of humility, both. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Again, whether you do it or not is your choice, right? But the reason that then, in the morning, if you're a Buddhist or identify as moving towards Buddhism, it's good to prostrate 3 times in the morning, again, to orient yourself. And what Tal have been saying, exactly perfect. But in class, you'll see some of the Buddhist people prostrate like when I sit down or one of the teachers sit down. And it's not because I'm fancy, right? It's because of what I represent. It's not about me, right? It's about what I represent. And I always have some Dharma here, because you're actually prostrating to some Dharma, right? But it's, when there's a high lama and you're prostrating to a high lama, or whether it's a monk or a nun, or just someone that's very well educated, holding bodhisattva and tantric vows, again, what you're saying is, I'm receptive to what's happening here. The personality in the individual is kind of beside the point. I want to engage with this process. Yeah. So if I'm sitting where you're sitting, I prostrate just as often, right? Whoever's up here, I'm prostrating to them. Yeah, it's not about the individual, it's about what they represent. There's the added benefit of also prostrating to a holder of vows, but again, it's not about the individual, it's about what they represent and hold. Do you see the distinction, right? And personally, I don't watch, who is prostrating, who isn't, because it's your practice, not mine. It's your practice, not mine. So I'm even like, do-do-do, Om Mani Padme Hum. All right? Right, because it is. It's your practice, not mine, and it's none of my business. It's none of my business. And some of the people actively, physically prostrating might have a less respectful mind than the people standing quietly. I can't tell. I'm not clairvoyant. You're the one that knows. Yeah, who has the most openness and receptivity and respect to the process and the path. That is personal and individual and private, and is none of the business of the person sitting here, right? It's yours. It's yours. So, so we prostrate to images, but it's not the image, it's it. Yeah? We're not worshiping false idols, don't worry, okay? So you prostrate, you're creating a receptivity. So in your daily practice, you prostrate before you sit down, or you prostrate, once you've sat down, you can do just a little prostration in your head, because the main prostration is mental, right? You can prostrate with your body, you can prostrate with your speech, but really the prostration is mental. It's creating an open, respectful receptivity to the path. Yeah? So reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. That's your first bit, okay? Then the second part of the 7-limb prayer is, I confess all negative actions accumulated since beginningless time. And then you think, good heavens, I don't remember, right? Right? But what you do is you're creating this, all right, the Buddhas are there. Now I'm being honest, yeah? Because there's no way for me to develop unless I'm honest with myself. And it's easier to be honest with myself if I remember that they are there, holding me. I can see all of my mess if they're holding me. If I'm all by myself with my mess, it feels hopeless. But I'm remembering they're there, they're holding me. So you're having this attitude of confession, right? But really it's an honesty. You're creating this mental open honesty that says, I see when I make a mistake. I'm gonna be really clear about it. Seeing a fault as a fault. Yeah. Does that make sense? Right? So
Yeah.
confess is this openness? Yeah.
I understand the prostration perfectly. I just don't understand why in the higher levels would you prostrate all day and would do this kind of practices.
Oh, right. The people that do prostrations as like a practice.
Yeah, like excessive prostration.
Is there such a thing? No, there is. Okay, so you've probably seen groovy Tibetan documentaries with nomads prostrating in the dirt all the way to Lhasa. Yes, I'm guessing this is that kind of crowd. Yeah, right. Yeah, or you've been to India and you see people prostrating all the way around the stupa, and you're like, all right, I'll just go around, whatever. Right. That is its own practice, and it's incredibly profound to do repeated prostrations again and again. But they're not just doing some act of like self-flagellation. What they're doing is actually this incredibly profound practice. Usually they're doing the 35 Buddhas. Okay, so the 35 Buddhas confession practice, straight from sutra, is a way of purifying your negativities, all of the anger, all of the ignorance, all of jealousy, attachment, pride, everything. And the way that the practice goes is you have to, in your mind, bring up this quite elaborate visualization of 35 Buddhas, the 7 medicine Buddhas, plus, right? All right, there it is, the image. You know, you can Google it, 35 Buddhas, you'll see the image, very easy, very common image. So you bring up this image and you're holding this visualization in your mind, you know, and as time goes by, it gets clearer and clearer. And then physically, you're going all the way down and all the way up and all the way down and all the way up while trying to hold a mentally projected image, right? That's incredibly strong concentration. While at the same time, you're saying the names of all of the 35 Buddhas, while at the same time remembering regret for your past negative actions related to each row of Buddhas, while at the same time visualizing that your body is multiplied countless times representing all of your past lives, right? So it's a powerful practice, right? It's huge. And people, if you hold this practice in your mind while doing something physically, verbally, visualize, mentally, etc., imagine how much that purifies. Huge.
Crazy.
Well, and you work your way up to it, right?
Yeah.
You just very gently work your way up to it. So in a Tantra retreat, often we do the 35 Buddhas before our session. The easiest benefit is that it makes it easier to sit. If you've just been going up and down for 15 minutes and then you have to sit still for 3 hours, your knees are much happier about it. So there's the practical level, right? It's like doing a very quick sun salutation, yeah? So first of all, there's that benefit. The second benefit is it kind of clears all the cobwebs out of your head so that you can focus. Yeah, that really helps. So it's a very common practice to do as a preliminary to a big session in a retreat. And Rinpoche's retreats often have 35 Buddhas. So you're not doing thousands and thousands, you're doing it for 15 minutes, right? It's not gonna hurt you, it's good for you. 15 minutes, you can do 15 minutes, right? People that are hardcore, right? You might start doing pilgrimage, doing prostrations. You might do prostrations around holy objects. That is just a more hardcore version of the same idea, but you work your way up to it. You don't want to be hurting yourself, right? Your form aggregate is a solid basis for your practice. You want to look after it, yeah. But 15 minutes.
You also have to trust your guru that he will tell you that you're ready for this because you can really hurt yourself.
Yeah, so start small. You know, so you start by maybe just working on the names, and then you start to work on the names with the visualization, then the names with the visualization, with the motivation, you know, et cetera, you build it.
There's a beautiful manual, like a full manual, step by step, that you can download from FPMT.org for a donation, I think, which tells you exactly what to do and how to do, and you don't start with 3 hours of prostrations. You start with 1 prostration and maybe half prostration and work your way slowly.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it alone.
Then don't. That's fine.
Look, most of us learn it in retreat. Yeah, most of us learn it in retreat because the group energy holds you, and it's kind of fun. Like 20 people prostrating together is quite fun. And you'll take a minute and be like, "Whew, I need a breather. Wow, look at these people. They're hardcore. All right." all right. It's sort of fun, right? So again, if it doesn't make sense to you, that just means study more. Don't do it if it doesn't make sense, right? Sometimes it's worth to experiment. What happens if I do this? Let's just see. But just keep an open mind, keep a flexibility, and if it's not your thing, don't worry about it. Yeah. But it's probably easiest to learn in a group. It's easiest to learn in a group. But it is this manual that Shugi's mentioned is a great manual. There's plenty of recordings of the names so that you can be reciting along with the recording. So if you're interested, you can email me and I can send you all sorts of things. Yeah. But yeah, for now, 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, classic, okay? So, all right. So prostration, the second one, excuse me, I jumped one. I jumped offering. So the second of the 7 limbs is to offer. So you have your beautiful things on the altar, which might be just one flower or some water or whatever, simple, little. But in your mind now, you actually offer them and you multiply them. Yeah. Then you confess, right, which is this mind of laying bare, of honesty, right? Then rejoice, right? So this is like the happy making, yes? Now, rejoicing also is the antidote to jealousy, right? And jealousy is one of our hugest obstacles to everyday joy, right? Because we're so competitive and we're comparing ourselves to others so often that this practice of actually first you rejoice in what's going well for you in terms of positive states of mind and actions, but then you rejoice in the actions of others. Yeah, and it feels a little sugary and it feels a little annoying, but actually it can make you have much better relationships if you take a minute and think, that guy I don't like, oh, actually there's some jealousy there, there's some competitiveness there. How about I just say how great it is they have that job that I want? They're doing it. Yay, it's getting done. Yeah. That sister I'm always at war with, she's just a little prettier than me. I don't know what happens with you in your life. Isn't it wonderful that she's pretty and that people respond well to that? Yay, right? Like you're unhooking yourself from competitiveness because competitiveness ruins your joy. It does. It really does. If you check your life, lots of things ruin your joy. The big one is attachment, yes, which feeds discontent. And the other one is jealousy. It's comparing yourself to others. Yeah, so taking a minute to rejoice in what's going well for you and what you enjoy in others. And then the Aryas, people that have realized emptiness, all your gurus, a rejoicing extravaganza also can make you feel like you're not the only one trying to get good work done. Yeah, you're not alone in working for altruism. So that's great. Right. Then we have the 2 requests, okay? So we only receive teachings if we've asked for them, right? And the Buddhas are only accessible if we've asked them to be here. That's what creates the cause for that. So if our teachers, we've met them but they don't stick around, or our teachers are around but they don't teach us, this part of the 7-limb prayer can be an incredibly powerful cause. You say, please stay, please teach. In your mind, again and again saying, please stay, please teach, creates the cause for them to stay and teach. Yeah. And it again, like prostration, creates that openness and that receptivity. It's like if someone gives you advice that you haven't asked for, are you going to take it? Right? But if you've asked for advice, you're listening for advice. So this is getting you into that headspace that I want you to explain the path to me, Buddhas. Makes you listen for it. Yeah. And then you do sort of an abbreviated dedication. You'll do a bigger dedication at the end. But this 7-limb prayer, this is a way of covering the bases of the 5 powers in one session of meditation. So whether you do it in just bullet points meditation way, whether you do it in the prayer way, whatever you prefer. Right? But it's a nice way of kind of getting yourself oriented, and then you can do whatever kind of the main part of your practice is, or let that be the main practice. Yeah? Okay, yeah.
Can you clarify, I didn't quite understand. I do the 7 limbs prayer, but do I have to think about the 7? So I can do it either way? That's what you're saying? Either in the prayer or thinking about it?
Well, in theory, the prayer should make you think about it. But if you don't like prayers because it triggers historical family trauma or whatever, then you can just do it as a meditation. Yeah.
But I don't quite understand what is the request to stay, the request to teach. Whom do I ask for? The Buddha?
Yeah, totally. In whatever form you're responding to, right? It doesn't have to be in this form. It could be this form. It could be that form. Whatever form or essence. Yeah, and in the guru form, whatever form you like, but that's who you're requesting, right?
Oh, maybe you can ask. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, ask Tara. Nice.
Yeah, when you say the seven limbs,
It's just here. You'll see it when I get up. Yeah.
it's written there?
Yeah, it's just written there. Yeah. I'll get up soon. But anyway, it goes reverently. I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. All negativities I've created since beginning this time, I confess and rejoice in the virtues of ordinary beings and Aryas. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for my graders. The virtues of myself and others I dedicate to the great enlightenment. That's the classic sort of short one. There's nice long ones. There's a whole nice section in Shantideva, Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life about it. Beautiful, beautiful, right? There's long, short, all sorts. But if you're not a prayer person, you can just touch the bullet points in meditation, and they're here. Yeah. Cool. All right, cup of tea.